What's up guys, welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host Caleb. If you want to support me directly, you can now follow me on Patreon. Not only is it the best way to support the channel, additionally you'll get more say in what deck techs I cover. Special shout out to all of you high contributing patrons. Newsome, you rock. Additionally, if you're going to pick up any of these cards today, using that TCGplayer link in the description down below could really help me out. Now let's get into today's Precon upgrade. And honestly, this Precon has the most punch to it because of the commander. The 10th Doctor is an insane card. It's going to give you free sort of card advantage, and then it does have a way to sink mana into it to get that card immediately. Now 7 mana sounds insane, but we're going to be abusing stuff like, I don't know, Rousing Reframe to get that immediately. Now as long as someone has 7 cards in their hand, boom, we can generate 7 mana, and that's how we're going to cause most of the infinites to happen in this deck. So if you want to see how we get those infinites off, how we're going to kill our opponents, let's get into this deck tech. The first thing I want to do is deliver on that thumbnail. Let's talk about how we can generate infinite power, infinite damage, draw our deck, and infinite mana. Admittedly, all of these cards do have one card in common, Rousing Refrain. Now, how this works is we go ahead and cast Rousing Refrain, we get 7 mana because someone has 7 cards in their hand, and then we can activate our commander, time traveling us 3 times. This will set off Rousing Refrain. This will allow us to time travel an infinite amount of times. Then all we need is our partner Rose, and boom, we've got infinite power. For infinite card draw, all we're going to need is Inspiring Refrain, and now we're drawing 2 cards whenever we time travel 3 cards, and remember, we can time travel an infinite amount of times. For infinite mana, we're going to add Training Grounds to the deck, so now if someone had 7 cards in their hand, we're actually netting 2 mana, and we can even net mana if they have 6 cards in their hand. And then last but not least, we have that infinite damage with Passionate Archaeologist. Not to mention the War Doctor is also in this deck, so we can create infinite damage that way, but he can only hit 1 target, so, you know, Passionate Archaeologist is just better and cleaner. In all honesty, this card single-handedly breaks this commander. We are also going to add Lab Maniac for another win con if we need to draw our deck for some reason. Sometimes maybe Passionate Archaeologist is at the bottom of our deck, and we won't be able to kill everybody with just a Rousing Refrain and a Passionate Archaeologist. So it's going to be solid that if we do have that other refrain on the battlefield, to have a Laboratory Maniac so we can draw our deck and win that way. I'm also going to go ahead and add Personal Tutor to the deck because honestly the bang for buck is amazing since this just got a reprint, and it's going to fetch us the most broken card in our deck. Wheel of Misfortune and Windfall are going to be solid cards in the deck as well. This commander's thing is kind of just casting a lot of stuff with Suspend, so you can kind of just end up in a scenario where you have a lot of Suspend cards in your hand, you dump them all, they're all in exile, and then you have nothing in your hand and you have to wait a lot of turns for that value to accumulate. So just being able to get a new hand out of nowhere is going to be amazing. For that same reason, we are also going to run Wheel of Fate. Ancestral Visions is also going to make the cut here. Playing this turn 1 has to feel amazing. Memory Deluge. I like this because late game when we're really trying to look for the cards that we need to win the game, we can cast it for 7 and dig 7 cards deep. And then early game, digging 4 cards deep is still not terrible. Fact or Fiction, this one digs you 5 cards deep. And hey, if they give you Rousing Reframe and then 4 cards to the graveyard, just grab Rousing Reframe 10 times out of 10 and you're going to be solid. Expressive Iteration. This one's really good, digs you 3 cards deep. You get some flexibility on what you do with those 3 cards, and it's going to make sure that you always end up happy. Soul Talisman, we have another Suspend card. Soul Ring in 3 turns, yes please. Inevitable Betrayal. Fetching the Timey player's most broken creature out of their deck is extremely satisfying. Rift Elemental is not only going to be a solid way to speed up our Suspend cards, but additionally, if we have infinite mana, we can generate infinite power with this guy. Honestly, if you wanted another win con, Chandra's Ignition's probably not terrible. I do have 2 honorable mentions. They almost made the cut, but the price range was a little too far for what I wanted to do. I kind of already broke the bank on this upgrade, but like I said, a lot of these cards are just too much value for how much you're going to pay for them, and they're going to perform amazingly in the deck. So my honorable mentions are Rings of Brightheart and Illusionist Bracers. This is going to make it to where we can easily double up on our commander's ability, again causing a lot of infinite shenanigans and honestly just providing a ton of value. Now let's get into those cuts. Astrid. I know we do want to be attacking in this deck, but generating a food token is not that valuable, especially when it's just on a 2/2 body, and then the Explorer mechanic is okay, but it's not really what we're trying to do. Amy Pond and Rory Williams. Now, I know on paper they seem amazing in this deck, but she's a 2/2, so without any evasion, she's going to die extremely quickly. Additionally, Rory doesn't give us that much value either. It's just a 3/3 with first strike and lifelink. Adipose Offering. Now, honestly, we could make a ton of these little guys. In fact, we could make infinite of these little guys if we get all of the power up, but in a scenario where we do that, we're already winning, and I can't see us paying that emerge cost to just create an infinite board state, sacrificing one of our very useful creatures, right? Edris, Soul of Tardis. There's just not enough value here. Martha Jones. Now, on paper, this card looks amazing for the deck. You get to make something unblockable. Something's going to get through. We want to be attacking because of our commander. But when you really break it down, you're only going to be able to do that for one turn unless you are creating a lot of clues, which this deck is not really trying to do. So it's like a 3 mana target creature can't be blocked this turn kind of scenario. Not that great. Sally Sparrow. She really seems like she wants to be in some sort of blink strategy, some sort of pass-go strategy where you're casting everything for flash. Didn't really seem like it fit the theme of the deck. Wilfred is on the chopping block because a lot of our very impactful cards are very high CMC. So if you go ahead and you look at the top cards, you see some of those high CMC cards. Nope, they're going right to the bottom. Maybe you'll see them later. There's a lot of high CMC cards that have suspend on them that we would love to cast, but this guy can just bottom them. So instead of that ever happening, we're just going to cut him instead. Fornox. Now, seems like a decent card, but honestly, I just hate the vanishing mechanic, especially when our commander speeds that up. I know it works for Pond, but for our commander, if we're going to be activating him, we're going to get one card off of this, maybe two, unless it's really, really early game, so it's just going to be easier to cut it and add in better card draw options. The 11th hour. Again, we're not running a terrible amount of doctors in this deck, and then the other stuff is kind of, I don't know, it's very iffy if we're going to get very much value off of it. They can see the creature token coming from a mile away, so not only do they have an opportunity to remove this saga, they have an opportunity to remove the creature you want to copy, which is the last thing you want to happen. Atraxi Warden kinda saw a cut for the same reason. You cast this from suspend, they see it coming, they're just not going to tap their bombs, and then this will fizzle or get something like a token. Fractured Identity. Now, 9 times out of 10, this is kind of just a meme card, take some threat away and then give everybody the threat. It doesn't really help the situations a lot of times, but sometimes it can just be funny, so I just went ahead and cut it, just because the bang for the buck's not there. I'm gonna axe Run for Your Life here, because honestly, our commander just cares if we attacked, which is going to be pretty easy to do. Whether they get blocked or not is kind of irrelevant. I'm also going to go ahead and cut Psychic Paper. I'm pretty sure this is so you can turn your creatures into doctors, but honestly, it's kind of very niche. I'm excited to see what people do with this card in the future, because I imagine it's going to do some pretty janky fun stuff, but for now, we're gonna cut it. That's going to do it for the final Precon upgrade, guys. I have done all 4 now, so if you missed one, go ahead and check those out. I would like to thank my patrons one last time. I really appreciate all of you guys, and as always, I hope this helped you in your deck building endeavors. I will see you in the next one.